My name is Satara Alexander, and I want to thank you all for coming to the meeting today. Today we'll be talking about the relocation manual and what we should do to prepare to the trip to Singapore. I'm going to start off by saying that this manual serves as the cultural handbook for employees traveling to Singapore. Historical, cultural, business, and travel information will help employees learn about Singaporean societies. The topics include greetings, languages, management styles, and travel tips. The company's objective is to expand our services internationally. We have successfully achieved this goal by expanding our business to Singapore. Since Singapore has strong business connections to the Western society, specifically the United States, our company will have a chance to serve our products in their economy. Employees are expected to provide excellent medical services to individuals in need. To do so, employees should feel comfortable working in a different country. Healthcare International will be working with our business counterparts to make sure our employees are properly trained. We are confident in our decision to relocate to Singapore. Not only will this move improve Singapore's medical sector, this may be our opportunity to change communities and lives. Work opportunities will be available to the community. People who need medical care will be treated. The purpose of this manual is to train our employees socially and professionally. Employees who use the information in the relocation manual will be able to establish powerful business relationships in respect to Singaporean culture. The relocation manual is organized into the following sections: the company profile and the country profile. The company profile section will provide employees with industry-related information. The country profile section will provide information about Singaporean history, culture, business, and travel. Mr. Jackie Massengill will now introduce the travel section.
First off, I'd like to thank all the employees today for coming to the meeting. We've had prior meetings leading up to this point, and we have provided manuals so that you'll be able to reference what you may not get today at one time. Our organization started off as a nonprofit organization, and we want to try to expand our medical field and help people in other countries. And we chose Singapore as a location where there's a very high populated area that many people do need medical attention. We would like to give you a few travel tips on getting through the airports, and things that you could actually take over into the country itself. These are not all these are recommendations. Not all of them are required fields, but I would like to go over a few of them with you, which are located in the manual. Valid U.S. passports with at least 6 months before expiration. There's birth certificate, marriage certificates, divorce certificates, anything of that nature that may be dealing with you as a person. Any children that you may have, you'd want to get their records, their dental records, medical records, so that they actually have them there and wouldn't have to get them in an emergency situation. School, diplomas, any kind of aspects of any school, college, high school, personal experience type stuff that you may want to have with you. Recent bank statements helps them, and I know that's something that's hard for anybody to give up their bank statements to another country or to anybody. The way people do now on the internet, they take your money and you're done with it. Driver's license photos are good. With a driver's license showing that you've got proof of your residency here in the United States. It is good to have, and most definitely you have to get a passport. The photos and travel tips as far as airlines goes. Researched cities of the world in Singapore. Shanghai International Airport was one of the best airports to actually go on. It may be more expensive, and it may be take what we got in the company to help you get on that airways, but we want the best for our company and the people that's going to be working there. We are going to provide interpreters for being in the office. It's a language barrier. It will be for a little while, and have the interpreters there for people to be able to understand what's wrong with them in that type of situation. But the airport, Singapore, there's a couple that Northwest and United actually go from Singapore into Singapore from the United States. That's a couple of them. That's in the manual also. That came from www.awesomeencounters.com. Things that you wouldn't think about, maybe you got animals here in the house, in your houses now, and I'm sure your kids love animals. There's certain types of dogs, animals that you can't bring into the Singapore. One type's a pit bull, mastiff, any kind of crossbreeds between those. You may want to look up and have that to see if there's any type of animals that you can't bring, but if you have, you may want to be making arrangements to get those to family members here or whatever. A lot of prohibited items. It's common sense kind of stuff. Some of them don't really, like chewing tobacco and imitation tobacco products. Cigarette lighters. You wouldn't think about a cigarette lighter, but cigarette lighters, if they're in the form of a pistol or a knife or a weapon, you wouldn't want to bring those in the airport. They're not going to let you have them. Because the way they make weapons, and nowadays, you could tell them it's a lighter all day long, and then light, and it'd still shoot a bullet out. They even have cell phones that can actually shoot 22 bullets. You can't have any kind of type of pornography, any kind of type at all. I would congratulate everybody here today that actually is going to stay and live and leave most of their family behind in the United States to start up a business in a different country that's going to be hard to be able to see their family. And that's going to be that's a real hard thing to do. We as administration, we're always, it's a family type situation. We understand that. We all have family. And if something arises, you need to come out, come back. We understand, and we're going to make it the best possible relocation process for you that we can. Give you any type of guidance that you need while you're there. Once you get there, you may want to do, before you get there, you may want to do a little research online. Try to help you out in the manual to try to give you some sites to go to and trying to find housing and that type of stuff. You may want to look at realtors or just renting for a little while and then coming back and buying your house or a vehicle. And now Mr. Reyes is going to give his presentation.
Sir. Hi everybody, my name is Irvin Reyes, and today I will be talking about business in Singapore as well as history. Also, I will be touching some points in there. I would like to congratulate everybody that has made that decision to take our business to Singapore. I truly hope y'all have a blessing trip. Today we will be talking, like I said, about business in Singapore. We choose Singapore because of its ideal country to start a business. Out of all the Asian economies with regard to the approach business, it is the most deeply Western influence. Its colonial past combined with its status makes a number of one destination for us and European organizations to start their Asian head offices and headquarters. In Singapore, personal information on relationships are important to come very firmly before business. Therefore, it is essential to understand everything about relationship building and management styles. First, let's talk about Singaporean management styles. Most of our managers in Singapore tend to be older due to its hierarchical structure. Older managers tend to have more authority because of their belief that older men have more wisdom than younger men. For that reason, people are more likely to feel comfortable dealing with older managers rather than young ones. Managers give assessments to their teams and expect their decision to be respected at all times. When it comes to business meetings, again, respect should be given to the older man due to their structure. Give time to the senior management or executive to answer any questions they may have. It is to consider disrespectful to let your junior members deal with a senior team. Something that is crucial to Singaporean business, people would be all the time punctual. Lateness represents a lack of respect or disrespect. Do not use diplomatic or coded language that will make the meeting seem unconvincing and confusing with many items. Seemingly left hanging on in the air, it is important to show your good communication skills, especially a good understanding of the Singaporean communication patterns. Now let's talk about business, women in Singapore, because women have made remarkable advances during the past few years in the business area. Several female executives are now holding many senior positions. When it comes to business, women are expected to be respectful, so it is best to keep distance and minimal eye contact with them. When it comes to business hours, most companies operating in Singapore work 5 days a week based on a legal standards of 44 hours a week. With an increased length of service and seniority, vacation leave varies from 7 to 14 days. Most contracts include 2 to 3 weeks of paid sick leave and hospitalization leave. Let's now talk about public holidays, focusing on the year 2014. It is important to know that any employee who is required to work on a public holiday will have the right to an extra day's salary at a basic rate of pay, in addition to the gross rate of pay of that holiday. Now I'm going to mention a list of public holidays celebrated in Singapore. In January the 1st is New Year's Day. January 31st would be a Chinese New Year. April 18, Good Friday. May 1st is Labor Day. May 13, they celebrate Vesak Day. August 9th is the National Day. And December the 25th, they also celebrate Christmas Day. Now we're going to talk about Singapore etiquette. Singapore is famous for punishing people apparently with minor infractions, such as chewing gum and doing graffiti on the streets. So it is known for applying severe penalties such as caning and mandatory capital punishment. Due to this, cheating, murdering, or raping, laws in Singapore are harshly enforced. Even failing to abide by some of the odds customs of the country can lead to someone to serious trouble. So I would advise to keep yourself out of trouble. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Singapore's history. Singapore was founded as a British trading post by Sir Stamford Ratter in 1819. Thanks to the opening of Suez Canal in 1869 and new technology, Singapore became a major port of call for ships working between Europe and East Asia. Around 1900, before it closed the 19th century, Singapore enjoyed extraordinary prosperity and trade expanded eightfold between 1874 and 1913. It attracted immigrants, which are the first foreign talents from around the region. In 1941, the peace and prosperity ended when the Japanese aircraft bombed it in Sleeping City of the early hours of December 8th. Singapore fell into the hands of the Japanese on February 15, 1942. And it was renamed Siam, which means Light of the South. It remained under the Japanese occupation for 3.5 years. In 1945, Singapore returned to the British administration. When the British forces returned, the seeds of the nationalism had been spread by the Japanese, who had demonstrated that in Asia, power could overthrow the Western colonial powers. In 1948, when the Communist Party of Malaysia tried to take over Malaya and Singapore by force, a state of emergency was declared. This emergency lasted for 12 years. Some of the tactics used to defeat the communists, such as ham-letting, where villagers are placed in a guarded compound to prevent contact and material support, were later used in the Vietnam War. By 1955, the Singapore first political contest was held by David Marshall, who was the first chief minister elected. He was a prominent Jewish lawyer who much later in life became the ambassador of France. This was a limited form of self-rule, as there was no independent constitution. In 1959, the self-government was achieved. Singapore's first general election was held. Lee Kuan Yew, a lawyer who headed an opposition party called the People's Action Party, and became the first republic's prime minister. By 1963, economic logic compelled the merger with Malaysia as part of the larger federation called Malaysia. The theory was that Singapore was an island too small to survive on its own, but in 1965 the merger was short-lived. Singapore was separated from Malaysia on August 9th of the same year and became a sovereign, democratic and independent nation. Later, on December 22nd, it became a republic with Yusuf bin Ijad as the first republic president. Thank you very much, and I will turn you back to Satira.
In preparation of the relocation trip, we should all be aware of the changing culture. Not only does Singapore have a unique travel background, business background, and historical background, Singapore is rich in diverse cultural customs as well. Employees should be prepared to perform the appropriate greetings, gestures, and eating habits. According to Culturegrams Online, customs and courtesies vary according to age, ethnicity, and situation. The Singapore article quotes, "Chinese people may shake hands or perhaps add a slight bow for older people. Malays greet with a salam. That's when two people bring their right hands together as if to shake hands, and then they slide them apart. Each person then touches the palm to his or her heart. When Chinese people greet each other, they may say, 'Ni hao ma, how are you?' or 'Wei, hello.' English greetings are usually dependent upon the ethnic group. In Singapore, employees should be aware of the do's and don'ts associated with gestures. An article written in Culturegrams Online explains how Singaporeans cross legs at the knee during formal situations. The article also points out how it is impolite to allow the bottom of the foot to point to another person. Adjusting to a new culture is essential, but learning to communicate with the general public is important as well. In order to communicate with Singaporean people, employees should pay attention to language and religion. Singaporean people speak English, Malay, Chinese, and Tamil. According to Culturegrams Online, English is the language of administration and is used most widely in science, technology, commerce, and tourism. Carol and Melvin Ember for Countries and Their Cultures describe Singapore as one of the most religious countries in the world. Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, and various Christian denominations are common. Mr. Massengill will now conclude the meeting.
Thank you. I'd just like to conclude and tell everybody thank you today for coming. And you refer to your manuals and always know we're people. We're a person company. Thank you very much.